has been pressed. Man, this is the first time doing it on StreamYard, and we are here on IG. What's up? What is up? Anybody that's tuned in right now, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I'm going to be looking right here at this camera. I've got my other setup here. What is up, y'all? Got my other setup for IG sitting here. This is not a planned live, but I am full. I am full because of my recent activities the last few days, maybe really last few months, but having a lot of um, very intimate conversations in the last couple of days via podcast primarily, and then just conversations on social media with people that I know and love and respect. So yeah, months is right. Months is right. Let me see. Is that my nephew in here? What's up? What's up, Larry? I think you actually prompted this, so I think I felt I needed to do it. But then the conversation that you just had was something that I wanted to share. So let me kind of get into it while we're warming up. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, and of course if you're on YouTube, what is up? Excuse me, what is up? I am AB Wright. I am a what I just consider a creative entrepreneur and content creator at heart. And I've been traveling a journey for the last few years, seeking clarity, um, finding myself, trying to figure out who I actually am and how do I make a difference in the world. I feel like that's something that everyone will question at some point in their life if you haven't done it already, right? You're wondering what your purpose is. You're wondering what these things are that you see in your dreams, these visions you feel you have, these gifts you've been blessed with. If you have a relationship with God already, you know the conversations you're having, um, the emotions that you're feeling, and the energy you're feeling out in nature and in the universe. If you're doing that, it is a very important place to be in when you realize that you want to be in a better place, that you want to provide value for the world, for your family, for your friends. And I think, what's up, everybody? I think that's what um, I think that's what ultimately we want to do. We may not even recognize that's what it is yet. Ultimately, that is what we want to do. And on the podcast, I have a couple of different brands, and all of these different pieces are there for a reason. But one of the newer brands, Undo LR, I did a podcast with Caroline, young lady I met in the recent months that we've been working on a couple of episodes for a podcast. And she asked some very, very intrusive questions that are needed to be answered, which a lot of them have been answered already. There's some I'm not able to answer because I just haven't gotten that far in my journey, my self-healing journey, my self-discovery, self-love, all of that. And my nephew also just asked some questions because he was just sharing where he's at in his journey. And I know he's trying to figure life out. I talked to my brother, his father, of course, all of the time. And he's sharing with me his desire for him to just be a great man and to do whatever the thing is in the world that he wants to do, to figure that out. And I definitely genuinely want that for him and anyone else that's in my circle, to figure out where they need to be, want to be. But it starts with understanding and just realizing that you're not there yet. One of the questions that was asked, what's up, Terrence? One of the questions asked yesterday made me think about, when did I know? Like, what, like, how did I start the journey? So it's always the the umbrella of it. How did you start the journey? And I shared that at 30, I remember turning 30 and somebody asked me, "Hey man, how you feel? You're 30 years old. How do you feel?" And I'm like, "Bro, I feel the same. I feel the same. Nothing is different." I thought when I hit 30, I was going to feel, I don't know, older. I don't know what I was supposed to feel, but I felt like I just turned another year. That's it. And by the way, after about 21, 22, 23, they just flew by. I don't know what the heck happened. Who told those years to go by so fast, but they flew by. And so I hit 30, so it was just like another year that just flew by. But it wasn't till I was 33 and no one had asked me. I just remember one morning I got up, and I don't remember. I think it was the morning of my birthday. Yeah, like a blur. I think it was that morning of my 33rd birthday, and I just remember feeling different. I didn't know what different was. I just knew something was different about this year. It didn't feel like when I turned 30. It didn't feel like when someone asked me what it felt like to be 30 that I couldn't put a finger on it. Like there was no significant change. At 33, something had happened. Some switch. And if it wasn't a full rocker switch, like a light switch that's from off to on and it's just illuminated, it may have just been like a little dimmer switch. It was turned just enough that I saw some light come out from under the door. But I didn't know what it was. But I do remember at this time, I was in Japan. And, my son was probably about somewhere between, I'd say 10 months old, and we're going to go months, 10 months old and 16 months, 18 months, somewhere over a year old, I feel. And I just remember beginning to write in my journal, "Hey, God, I know you have something for me to do. I don't know what it is. And I know deep down inside, you keep telling me I need to stop drinking. I need to stop smoking. I need to stop going out and doing all this crazy stuff that I'm doing. I need to get tuned into whatever this thing is that you're doing to me so that I can become whoever it is that I'm supposed to become." Because I'm thinking the drinking is just affecting my health, and maybe I'm just shortening my life, and I'm not going to be here. So I need to stop so I can actually live. I'm thinking, maybe I'm going to be smoking these cigarettes and emphysema is going to take over or whatever else is going to happen. And now I can barely talk, if I can talk at all. So I'm thinking like surface level, like what's happening, right? I'm thinking what's on the surface level. And what ends up happening is that I just say, "God, I know you got me. I know it's not going to necessarily happen overnight, but hey, I know I got to work on it, and I promise I am." And that was in a journal that I wrote back in 2009. And the only reason I remembered that was because earlier this year I stumbled upon that journal as I was cleaning myself up, cleaning up an area, some notes and steno pads and journals, all that stuff. And I'm in this season of clarity and intentionality the start of this year with some goals and some things I want to take care of for the business. So I'm reading this stuff, and I'm gonna add this to the puzzle. I'm 3+ years in, so June 2020 marked the start of my sobriety journey. Mind you, I said this, I found this journal and I made this entry in 09. 2020, now 2023. I said, "God, I know it's not going to be an overnight process, but I'm ready. I'm acknowledging that I'm ready." I'm acknowledging that I'm ready. I'm realizing that I need to make a change. I'm not where I need to be. I know God has a calling on my life. He's given me a vision. He's shown me some things about myself on how great I actually can be. And let me just tell you, that scared the shit out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. So I can't even imagine if he showed me more of who I am supposed to be. Probably would have had a heart attack and died. I'm not even gonna lie. It would have been that great and that traumatic all at the same time. But the glimpse he had given me of what I would be able to do and the lives I'd be able to touch, and to just show him through me, allow him to work through me, which is ultimately all that I really want to do. I just want to take these gifts and these talents that I have and live an amazing lifestyle that I'm afforded to live, but at the same time show some little boy, some little girl, some older man, woman, whomever that's not quite found the thing that they want to do, but they do realize they want to change. And then back to the little boy and girl that they have no idea about what they want to do, but we have these impressions that are uh, uh, instilled in us when we're young, and it leaves these lasting impressions that we pull from it as we're older, and we don't know necessarily where they came from, but there were seeds that were planted, and along the way they get watered. So those are the types of things that I know I'm supposed to be doing, and I know those are the types of things that you are wanting to do. Because I don't think any of us just wants to be ornery and evil and unloved and can't show up for anyone. Nobody shows up for us. Nobody wants to be around us. And that we just ultimately want to be selfish. We want everything for ourselves. The world can't have shit. I don't think any of us truly at our core want that. I digress. So I'm cleaning up. It's 2023. And thank you. Appreciate that, Lisa. What's up, Lisa? Appreciate that. Can't wait to hear the music. Congrats on that too. Looking forward to the music drop. And a soft launch party. Not sure if you're doing that. I don't know. But I am cleaning up, and I'm in this space where I realize it's clarity that I've been in search of. Because remember, I said that dimmer switch cranked just a little bit for me to see that something wasn't right. Something needed to be changed. I needed to start making some changes about myself. And all of this stuff did not happen overnight, but just slowly and surely, I began to move a certain way. I began to assert myself a certain way. I began to believe in myself more. And I would just say I was at a place at that time in 2009 that I just was trying to get by life without life bothering me. So let me just move under the radar, do my thing, and not be seen. I ain't bothering nobody. Don't bother me. That shit don't work. That shit doesn't work. That's still a form of people pleasing. That's a term that is being pushed around a lot lately, because we all realize, and I can almost assure you, especially 2020 did some things for a lot of people. There's a lot of awareness. Well, now that was a rocker switch. That light came on. A lot of awareness happened in 2020. And you either left that switch on and kept moving to find your way, or you turn that light off and just remain hidden. For me, that light stayed on. The dimmer switch was already cranking up. But what I'll say to that is, different things were happening. Clarity was beginning to form. I was beginning to find out about who I was and how I moved, and the fact that where I was in life didn't align with where I ultimately wanted to be. The people that I was around, the people that, let me rephrase that. The people that were around me, that I allowed around me, were not in alignment with who I truly wanted to be. And at the same time, I was in an environment that I truly didn't need to be in. So clarity, big part of the journey, the clarity, The clarity to see that you're not where you want to be, the clarity to see you need to make a change, the clarity to begin seeing how to make the change. But that's coming through a relationship with God. That's coming through slowing down and being patient with yourself. That's coming from being intentional about everything that you're doing. And that's also coming with having some grace, being patient with yourself, because you absolutely need patience above everything else. So when I'm asked, what are some steps that I took to get from blackout drinking to anxiety and depression to being this version of a man that wasn't really manly at all, like that hyper masculinity type bullshit? Because I promise you, I'm a man. I'm a man. I ain't got to prove anything, but I'm a man. All right, I'm a man. I like manly things. I like doing manly shit. But I'm in touch with myself enough to know, I'm aware of myself enough to know that there's other men out there that are doing similar things that I am doing, to try to awaken, to open the eyes and the minds of other men that don't really understand what being a man is. That's what kind of man I am. And what I'll say to that is, again, what's asked about the clarity? The clarity is all of the things that I said: holding yourself accountable, being patient, being intentional. You got to have people show up for you. I talked about the anxiety and the depression. It's kind of hard to say out loud the desire to not be alive, the desire to execute a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Folks, I wanted to commit suicide. That shit was painful. Waking up every day. First off, I was still drinking. I'm backing up a little bit. I was still drinking heavy. I was running from something. I didn't know what I was running from exactly. And maybe I did know. I was running from the fact that I did know. So I was running from it. So let me just tell you, substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, that's just you running from pain. That's you running from some reality of yours through this temporary revolving door. You're just gonna go right out. There's no exit. You coming right back into the very thing you was running from. But let me just say, that pain and being alone and feeling I didn't have anyone to show up for me, to support me, like I didn't really feel I had someone to talk to share that I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know what was going on, but I just didn't feel I had someone to share that with. One of the questions my nephew asked me that just made me think about that was, he asked me what were some things I did on my mental health journey. He asked about some other things too, but the mental health journey is what I took from that. And all of those things that I said, the clarity, intentionality, and grace and all that, that's necessary. But let me tell you something, you can't do this shit by yourself. It's noble to think that, yep, I'm gonna change my eating habits, I'm gonna drink more water, I'm gonna get sleep. First off, you're trying to change habits, things that you do naturally without thinking. Wendy, back to you and your structure you showed yesterday, which gave me that perspective on this thing, the habit building and habit changing. So thank you for that. You can't do it by yourself because you're trying to break habits. You're trying to break something that you've been doing for I don't know how many years. I don't know how many years that you're doing this. And for me, we're talking what, 30 plus years? So I'm trying to break a cycle by myself. I can't do it by myself. But I'm going to have to start reaching out to some people and start opening up. And maybe I realize I can't open up as much as I want because I don't fully trust them like that. That's okay. It's okay. Not saying you to fully invest your trust into someone you don't know. Excuse me, that hasn't out the gate proved that they have your interests at heart. But what I will say is there are some people in the mental health space that do their job and they do it very, 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 very well because they actually do care. I was on a podcast last night. It took me into the wee hours of the morning, post-show conversation. And this young lady works with kids, work with autistic kids. So salute to her for that because my son is on the spectrum. And she was just sharing the differences in the industry or the things she runs into in the industry where the way she approaches children and helping them and enabling them to become the independent person that their parents want is to let them be independent. Doesn't sound that hard to me. You let them, they're eating, they're not finished eating, you let them eat. My son, if he's talking about something and wants to complete that thought, and maybe I wasn't necessarily thinking he was going to continue that, I'm patient enough to let him continue that process, let him process that out. But she was sharing how there, unfortunately, there are providers that more so cater to, I guess, the parent side of things. I'm not saying the parent doesn't have a say in what's going on. Of course they do. But I just remember a situation, even from my son, where I felt like he needed to be able to explore and continue to express himself, where I felt that he wasn't being allowed to do that. I digress. There are providers that will show up for you. So if you think you can't talk to anyone, and yeah, let me back up. There are providers that will show up for you, and there's some that will obviously show you, follow your intuition, follow your gut. They'll show you that they're not there for you. And you make your decision to leave them alone. Remove them out of your space. But at the end of the day, you showing up for yourself, but you need other people to show up for you. But it's the clarity that has to come to be able to see these things. So, how do you do the work? How do you do the work and show up for yourself? Begin showing up for your brand. If you're a creator, entrepreneur, showing up for your family, other people that you want to, show up for, you got to show up for yourself first. You have to recognize that you're not where you want to be. Understand the vision that you've been given, at least what glimpse of it you've been given, the gifts that you have to use, figure out how you're going to use them. I'll share this. I'm going to share this. When I got out of the Navy in 2018, let me back up. I'm going to back up a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of my history. I played professional baseball for about 3 to 4 years, but what I'll say is there's no way I thought I was going to play professional ball, because after going from foster care at the age of about 3 to being adopted around 13 to being introduced to the game of sports around 14, didn't know anything really about baseball. I'd seen it a little bit on TV, the Braves. I grew up in Atlanta. Seen the Braves on TBS, and we had WGN, so I could see the Cubs and even the White Sox every now and then. But I grew up a Cubs fan. Sorry for White Sox fan. But all around, I'm just speaking of the Chicago community, but all around, I love the game of baseball. So eventually, I realized I loved it enough to put in the work. I had to do the work. I don't think I really realized at that time I was behind everyone else, or a lot of the kids that had started T-ball at the age of like 4, 5. So mind you, I just told you I started at 14. So there's a whole 9-10-year gap of repetitions and practice and coaching and instructing. So let me just say, I did not look that well. So this wasn't a story of, oh, he had natural ability, God gifted natural talent, ability, and just was woo. No, I was scared of the ball. Catching it, throwing it, hitting it, looking at it. The only reason I even did it was because I won't get too deep in this part of the story, but what I'll say is I'm artistic just like my son is. I wanted to do like the band and art and that kind of stuff. And I just remember my dad didn't quite approve of that. He didn't see where that was going. Even though he liked the drawing and stuff, he was like, man, you're gifted. Wasn't really any support for that. But what I saw was when I was playing baseball, they really, I could see the twinkle in their eye. I was like, ha, sports, that's the ticket. So I bought into playing baseball, and I did it for a while. I got pretty good in high school. That was rec ball when I started at 14. But by the time I got in high school, I had a very good glove, very good defensive player, still struggling to hit. But I began to find my way in college. I walked on to Valdosta State, but not really as a player. Just really, I guess they saw the enthusiasm I had as a player. I loved the game. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love supporting the other guys that were playing. So I just showed up for them, even though I wasn't maybe not as good as them just yet. And maybe I was. I don't know. But I had the opportunity to be there. I played some summer ball, summer travel ball. I traveled and went to Kansas and did, traveled across states, all sorts of stuff. Had a great time. And eventually hooked up with a high school teammate and an instructor in East Cobb. And at that time, with some elite players out there and some elite professional instructors, all that good stuff. And ended up training and went on to play professional ball. So let's fast forward a little bit to where I'm going. And then from baseball, I got tired of politics. I joined the Navy. Lo and behold, I ended up playing baseball for the Navy too. That's a different story. We'll talk about that another day. But I ended up playing baseball for the Navy. So that was a great introduction to the military. I'm working on aircraft, F-18s. I cross rate because I'm like, I'm going to get out. I'm not going to do aviation. So let me cross rate to medical. I do become basically a medic and then a pharmacy tech. During those years, though, remember I said I ended up with all Navy baseball. So I would instruct, I coached, I played travel ball. I traveled to different places. I played in Japan. I played in, of course, around the States, and played in different leagues in different places that I was. But ultimately, I still coached, instructed, and all that kind of stuff. So basically, when it was time for me to get out, God was like, hey, it's time to get out. And all of this time that I had been praying for him to finally tell me that. And I was like, Lord, are you serious? Time for me to get out? It's like 12 years. Once you get over 10 years, you stay in and retire. And he's like, bro, you've been asking me about getting out. It's time to get out. Woo! You talk about reality, fear, all that stuff kick in at the same time. It's almost like they said, be careful what you ask for because you might get it. And I got it. And I was just like, stay in for 200, Alex? I don't know. But I get out. I'm chasing my dream as chasing my dream with instructing and coaching. And I'm finishing up school. And I had started I was here in Texas at the time. I was in Corpus Christi. I had started my professional player development agency. And I'm back in Wisconsin. Going to finish my my sport management and coaching minor degree because that was just a personal goal. I'm a business owner. I don't need that now, but it was a personal goal, checking the box for my family. And 2020 happens, and I'm like, okay, I just started coaching with the school, with UW Parkside, University of Wisconsin Parkside. Just started coaching with the school, and I just remember being like, called in to a meeting. We're about 8-9 games into the season. We've traveled, I think we just came off the road. We swept the team in Iowa. I think Upper Iowa we played 4 games, sweet, amazing. I get a call to come into the SAC, the Student Activity Center, for a meeting, and I see the players in there. I see some guys just like bawling. I see the coaches kind of distressed, and I'm just like, what happened? I'm looking around to see if I'm missing anybody because I'm like, did somebody's family member pass or did we lose a player? I'm there for a couple of minutes, it seemed. And coach, I just remember him saying, "Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. But as you can tell, it's out of my hands. That's not just our school, that's all the schools. That's everything across every division. We're talking about NCAA. Season has been called." I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm not in distress though. I'm like, what's happening? So what ends up happening for me is I go in that conversation and get with God like I always do. All right, God, why am I feeling this way? Why am I not stressed and all the above? Like, talk to me. Talk to me. I can't say I have a very good relationship with God, and I'm grateful for that. I'm understanding that now. I didn't realize that earlier years. I didn't realize that. I'm fortunate. I'm grateful for that. I would not be here without my conversation with God. Because if I trusted only my decisions, there's no way I'd be right here. There's no way I would have made decisions that I've made. There's no way I would have leapt. What's the word? There's no way I would have jumped out on faith and executed some of the things that I would have done because I would have doubted every fiber in my body to do this stuff. So I'm telling you now, if you don't have a relationship with God or somebody other than yourself, some higher being, I highly encourage, highly advise you do so. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I have this conversation with God. I'm like, hey, what are we doing? What are we doing? And he's like, what have you been doing? I'm like, okay, YouTube. Backstory: I had been wanting to do YouTube for so many years. I own some cars that are in the automotive enthusiast world. It's some of those cars that enthusiasts really like and would like to work on those cars. And I would learn how to work on my cars through YouTube videos. And I just felt like giving back to the community. There's that guy showing up wanting to give back and teach and coach. Let me tell you, whatever your gifts are, it shows up in everything that you do. Let me just tell you. So I started doing that and just like, okay, yep, boom. Got that going after so many years of doubting my ability to do that and showing up to do something that I had been doing for years. I had been working on my own cars since 2005 when I started working on aircraft. I started working on my own trucks, started working on my own cars. So imposter syndrome, that's another conversation for another day, but remind me to talk about that at some point in time, right? DM me, message me, email me, whatever. I will talk about that. I'll bring some content up for that. But he's like, think a little deeper. Think a little deeper. I'm like, okay, video production? He's like, okay, you getting hot. Because I'm thinking, okay, been doing YouTube. I didn't know these skill sets that came with YouTube would just organically happen, like being a cinematographer, producing, writing, editing, color grading, all the stuff with editing, the color grading, the special effects, the sound design, all of that. SEO. I mean, it's so many things that come with that when you're pushing your own content on all these social media platforms, and YouTube was just the main one at that time. But it takes work to get brand deals. It takes work to push affiliate marketing. It takes work to acquire the minimum requirement that it needs to be a partner with YouTube. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. But let me just say, I've been there, I've done that, and still doing it, by the way. I didn't realize I was developing all these skill sets, right? It's just for fun. It's something that I dared myself to do while I am on the road to becoming this coach, instructor, my degree, and all that stuff. And when God said that, and he revealed the filmmaking and all of that, I'm starting to realize that the other part to clarity is the intentional part. And I talked about being patient and having grace. The other big part to that is the faith, the actual execution. Because we can't, like, real talk. Let me be real. Some people think giving yourself grace is when you, what's the better word for this? You decide to wimp out on doing something that you know you should be doing, or doing something right or with integrity when you know you should be doing it. When you're doing stuff behind closed doors that doesn't look like what you do when people see you, that's not giving yourself grace, folks. It's a fine line. It is. It is. It really is. It is. Sometimes you do have to give yourself grace because you probably didn't realize that's what you were doing until you finally had clarity to realize that that's what you were doing. But when you know you're supposed to be doing and you're opting not to do, that's not grace. You can't give yourself grace for that. That's when you got to hold yourself accountable. But all I will say to you is the other side that I'm highlighting now, as I digress from that. And I speak from experience, y'all. This isn't some this is experience. This is me talking about me, my journey. I had to hold myself accountable because I was doing stuff I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing. Just talked about the sobriety journey. I just talked about the journal, the hey Lord, I know I'm supposed to be, but I need you to work with me a little bit. I'm sipping on this Heineken right now, smoking my cigarette right now. I'm about to go to this party right now. I know I need to work on me, but I'm just saying, give me some time. I'm acknowledging. Give me that. Give me some grace and some mercy and some love. Right? Wrong. I'm talking about my journey. That was my journey. So I can't tell you something that I haven't done myself. But it requires that accountability. It requires the grace. And it requires the intentional execution. But here, let me take the execution right here. Right here. I'm gonna bring this up to speed. The execution of things that you're scared to do, it starts building this habit. Remember we talked about habits? this second nature thing that happens that our body does automatically and we don't think about it. Like breathing, we don't think about breathing when our eyes blink. We don't think about blinking when we swallow, unless it's food. Well, even food too. We're not thinking about it. Our body just does it. When you have ideas and things that you want to do, it's an unfamiliar place and you want to do it, you start doing the thing, and all it takes is one time. And eventually it becomes habit. Making the hard choices for yourself, choosing you, becomes habit. If you're in a space right now where you're choosing to run from finding yourself, if you choose yourself to, if you choose to see the glimmer of light that came through when the dim switch flipped on, and you're like, nope, close that door, turn that off, I'm going back the other way. If you're doing that, you're going to keep doing that until the day you decide to say, let me make a decision to challenge myself. Let me make a decision that's difficult. Let me join the Navy in 2004, post 9/11, at the height of war, to do something noble for a cause I don't understand. But I've had a conversation with God. Hey, God, I want to do something greater with my life. Thinking about joining the Navy. Will you protect me when I go into this greater Navy during this time of war? Protect me so that wherever I go, I know that the mission that you have given me is to allow for people to see you through me. But I am stepping into some territory that is so unfamiliar, and it is a thing that I promised I would never, ever, ever, ever do. Military? Hell no. What idiot joins the military? I'm not an idiot, but you know what I'm saying. But I asked God to bless it. I asked him to give me direction, camp his angels around me, protect me, all of that. Yes, you just said it. Alexis, challenging self is a key component to inner transformation. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And actually, I'll back up from the military. The conversation in the podcast last night I was having, I had to make a tough decision to leave baseball because that was my heart. I thought that was my first love. Baseball, I realized some years later, was not my first love. Cars actually was my first love. My dad told me that. Well, I got so many interesting conversations and stories to bring you all up to speed about who I am, where I come from, and where I'm going. Stay along for the ride. That's all I can tell you. Stay along for the ride. But cars was my first love. Baseball was my first love at that time that I thought. So it was hard to give that up. But that was a decision I had to make too, for the betterment of family, for goals. And I'll just say at that particular time, people pleasing was part of that too. It's a lesson I didn't know I was learning until most recently, because I get a chance to look back over the decisions that I made and the people that were in my life that helped impact the decision. And here we are to this day, realizing that there were some influences in that decision. But at the same time, I had the wherewithal and enough integrity to know that, God, I need your guidance on this trip. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I know you have given me the gifts that will that will open the doors and make available what it is I need to do and say and show up for the people you need me to show up for, whether they show up for me or not. But because of those decisions, I realize now I've been able to do that at every major intersection in my life. I didn't realize that until recently. The clarity part of this journey, that once I stopped drinking and clouding my brain and remapping my brain to the point that now I see things a lot clearer. Stuff starts making sense. New ideas that I thought was new ideas, that once again I kept a journal. I keep journals, that I realized about 2 years in, I had looked back at a journal, and I looked in that journal and went back about a spread of 8 months, I think, to a year. When I tell you I had come up with the same brand new business idea 3 different times, I was like, bro, you was on something. Because I would come up with the idea at some moment of clarity, like I hadn't been drinking for a while, so my brain had a chance to defog, my body had a chance to breathe and be alive and be filled with this creative juices and energy that I've always had and loved. And this idea would come. I'm like, man, that's good. Expound on it a little bit throughout the day. Either that evening or the next day would come, and I am running from my pain by inducing pain. And whatever that thought was would be gone until a few months later, I write it down again. Then a few months later, it comes back, I write it down again. When I realized that was happening, I was like, oh, what is up? What was up with you? Nuts. Just nutty. Just nutty. But as I said, I began having this clarity. About who I am. Man, we have so much internal strength and fortitude, and we just would let that shit breathe. And it's not just substance abuse. Again, it's getting the things away from us, removing ourselves from things and getting things away from us so that we can breathe. So our minds, our hearts, our spirit can breathe, and we figure out who we actually are, what actually makes us tick, what is our superpower. That's the thing we've been trying to figure out. What is the gifts, the purpose, the vision? What is my life's purpose, God? And he's up there like, bro, sis, if you would sit down, take a chill pill, turn the music off. I don't care how chill vibe it is. Turn the music off. Get in a quiet place. Close the door. Go out in nature. Listen to the wind blow, the birds chirp, the squirrels rustle through the leaves. Watch the little crickets and grasshoppers hop along, the caterpillars move along. Hopefully no snakes. We don't want to see snakes. I'm not a fan of snakes. I'm not running, but I ain't a fan of snakes. You know, some rabbits. No mountain lions. No mountain lions either. No mountain lions. No bears either. But I know they're out there and they could be there. Just stay there. Just stay there. But what I'm saying is, you got to go get by yourself and allow yourself to find yourself, because until you do that, allow yourself to breathe, have clarity, allow yourself to breathe. Only then can you have clarity. You won't have it with all of the distractions around you. I'll bring it. I'm gonna say this last point, because this was one of the things I had learned to start doing in the military. Is because I worked at the clinic. and we had short breaks, I think like 30-minute breaks. Sometimes we had hours. Maybe I took hours. This boy knew how to disappear. I would take my break, go on lunch. I used to sit back there in the break room like any and everybody else, and now you got to sit there and deal with, unless you got headphones on or earbuds in or whatever the case is. You're hearing other folks complain about the work that they don't want to do, but that they're getting paid to do. They're complaining about the patients wanting things and expecting things as they should expect and want things. Some things, not going to lie, some things were unreasonable, but some things were reasonable. So why are we back here complaining about work? I don't want to hear about work. I'm on a break. I'm on lunch. I don't want to engage. That was probably some time after I realized I needed to stop engaging, because I was engaging. And when I say engaging, not so much complaining, because I don't recall doing a lot of the complaints, but I would catch myself chiming in. My part was just it's like, it's no different than what we call them, enablers. It's no different than someone committing a crime and you don't do anything about it. You just stand there. All right. You don't try to stop it. Don't call the police or anything like that. And I'm using that as an example. But I'm just saying you just a bystander and you're enabling the thing to just happen. So when I'm hearing these conversations, I'm a bystander. I'm not saying anything, not necessarily. And I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna say I didn't say anything. There's plenty of times that I'd be like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. I would try to kind of step in and try to, and actually, I'm gonna rephrase that. I would do this often because I had to digress from doing that. So let me rephrase that. I would try to step in and be the referee. I try to help them see it from more than their own perspective. That's actually what I did. So I would try to chime in, help them see it from their own perspective. But when I would see they still complain, I was like, I can't say nothing because I'm just wasting my time and energy. And I'm like, I can't be in here because you all are affecting my energy. So now fast forward to the place where I leave and I go sit. I go sit by the water. I go take a walk. I'm just sitting in my car with the windows down, no music, no nothing, eating my lunch, reading a book, listening to the waves crash and that kind of stuff. But that's what I'm getting to. No, that was something that I was doing in the military, that if you're not doing that now, wherever you are, you're sitting in the break room, you listen to people complain and you don't even want to be a part of it. You're trying to help them, or maybe you are a part of it. Maybe you're the person that's complaining. Just calling it out. Notice I did say I chimed in at times too. That's just not my personality. I don't do that, so I can't claim that. I can't claim that. That's not me. Who is me is that I'm trying to advocate for other people, and I got tired of doing that. So if you're one that's advocating for other people and you're tired of doing that, it's time to remove yourself from that. And if you're the person that's starting that, initiating that, I don't know what to tell you, but might need to start seeing life differently. You might need to go get some clarity. Might need to go sit by yourself, turn the stuff off, make peace with life, and start finding yourself. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to advocate for you to help you. But whomever you are that's watching, that have taken the time, if you are still watching, thank you very much. This was indeed an impromptu live, and I appreciate you all coming in. Like I said, I did this for my nephew because I'm pulling for you, Larry. I know you had to step away. Oh, you're over here. You had to step away because you're taking care of some business, as you should. So I applaud you. I appreciate you. I love you. But you all just know that in order to, okay, I see you back. That's what's up. But in order to do the work, you got to put yourself in position to gain that clarity. You got to put yourself in position to see, and really first you got to understand that you need to do the work. You got to understand that you're not in the place that you want to be and that there's some work to be done. So once you own that, that opens the doors for you starting to make those changes. You starting to listen to motivational speaking. You starting to change the type of music you're listening to. You're not always listening to hip hop, not always listening to grunge metal, not always listening to R&B, not always listening to country. Whatever it is, it's putting you in the mindset that you find yourself that you're in. Maybe you do switch up the different places that you go going out, or maybe you do cut back on drinking. Maybe you do cut back on, because there's a whole nutrition journey. That was part of it too. There's a whole nutrition thing that's part of this too. You know, I didn't look like this a year ago. I was looking pretty unhealthy a year ago. But there's some things that happen that allow for my body to release the toxins from my body. There's some choices I started making that allow for me to take in more nutrients and give my body the nutrients it needed, and primarily starting with water and rest. So there were some things that that I was able to change and start implementing that were effective habits, or excuse me, that became effective habits. But I wouldn't have started until I was ready. That's the other thing. Last thing. Again, me talking about me acknowledging God, that I know he needs me to change. I know I need to stop drinking. I know I need to do all these things. I never did it because I wasn't ready. I just knew I needed to do it. But because I did at least acknowledge that I needed to do it, now the universe can start spinning around me and putting me in places and positioning people around me to help me make those changes. So remember, I said you need a support system. You cannot do this by yourself, no matter how hard you try. And I would advise you don't try. There's some things you will need to do to hold yourself accountable, because you need to have that integrity to do it. But as a whole, you cannot do the journey by yourself. I used to think everything I did, from owning a business to creating video content, that I was just going to do everything by myself. I was not going to collab. I was not going to whatever. But guess what? In order to make money, if I'm trying to generate any revenue, affiliate marketing, any of that, I can't make the money by myself. You know, you flag your account if you buy stuff under your own affiliate. So I can't do that by myself. I need people that are watching my content that see what I'm using, that I am saying and being honest and open about the, hey, this thing works, this thing doesn't work. So if you decide to buy it, boom, here's my link, buy it, and it starts generating revenue. Couldn't do that by myself. You can't do this stuff by yourself. Self-made. That was the thing I talked about last night. Self-made is a word that y'all need to outlaw. There's no such thing as self-made. I don't care how you slice it. It took somebody's influence to help you. I don't care if there wasn't a person necessarily right next to you, but it still took somebody's motivation. It still took someone's creative ideas that maybe you didn't do it the way they did it, but it spun off into an idea that you had. We ain't do none of this stuff by ourselves, y'all. No such thing as self-made. So I'm just saying, it's not a part of my vocabulary. I would just say challenge yourself to understand you're not self-made, but that's it. That's all I got to say about that. That's not a hard conversation on that. But you can't do it by yourself. You need a team. You need people around you. It's going to take some tough decisions. You got some people around you right now that should not be there. And you got some people that you probably are not paying attention that need to be around you is there, but you're not pulling them in. They're not in your circle. So you have to be mindful of that too. But I can't tell you how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, but I can tell you that you need to do it. So all of that's part of doing the work. But in order to do the work, you have to recognize that there is work to do, and that at some point in time, you're going to have to change. And mindset is a big part of that. That's all I got, folks. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any suggestions, ideas, I'm gonna put this up as replay. Please plug that into the comment section, the chat. DM me, inbox me, email me, whatever it is. If you want to email me, it's AB Visual. So that's AB Alpha Bravo VIZ not a S, Z as in Zulu. All right. Visuals, ZUALZ at Gmail. All right. I appreciate you all. I see somebody in here. What's up, Tony? Appreciate you. Love you, bro. I appreciate you all. Thank you for letting me take up some of your time, your day on this Thursday or whatever day it is, wherever you are that you're tuning in from. I look forward to sharing so many different things of the journey that will help inspire you, motivate you, hold you accountable, impart some love to you and some grace and some mercy and all of that. Because guess what? We need that. And for all of my men out there, let me just say this to you, especially my black men. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with you acknowledging just to yourself first that you need work. It's okay to realize that the things that we learned growing up as little boys, not to cry and not to express our emotions and feelings, bro, that shit's okay. That shit is okay. Absolutely is okay. That's how you work through that. That's how you find out how much of a man, but more importantly, how much of a human being you actually are. How much empathy you actually have within you to yield to someone else, to have the conversations, the hard conversations with someone else, to be merciful, be graceful, to hold yourself accountable, to hold them accountable without stepping on toes and coming at them the wrong way. And allowing people to come at you the wrong way and being able to stand up for yourself strong. Not a yes man. Having your own ideas. Being able to execute that. Being able to show up for yourself and heal so that whatever woman or whoever the life partner is that's out there for you will actually see you. Let me say this part. I got to roll, man. Let me roll out here. Let me say this part. I used to think there's a two-way street to this, but I'm only want to speak as the man here, of course, from my perspective experience. I used to think the only way I could show up was with stuff. I was supposed to show up with stuff first. I was supposed to buy stuff, take you on trips first. I don't know, dinners, bags, all of that stuff. That's what I thought. And let me just tell you, that shit's exhausting, bro. It's exhausting, man. My bank account was like, bro, what are you doing? We supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. You buying all this stuff. What is wrong with you? You know that ain't even what you wanted to do. And I'm talking about in a stage where we haven't even validated this is the one yet. Because I think at a certain point in time, that's okay. But at the same time, the woman that you meet that's showing up, that is the one for you, and all these different things. When you really meet the right woman, and a woman that has done some internal work to themselves, as women I am meeting nowadays, and having the privilege to have conversations with, like deep conversations about life and shit that matters. They ain't looking for that shit, bro. In fact, if that's the first thing you're talking about, you have no substance. Because guess what? The flip side of that was when we were boys intellectually and in age, we were running across girls that thought that's what you're supposed to do. And if you weren't doing that, then you weren't man enough for them. Didn't have the nice car, didn't have the house yet, didn't have the stuff, couldn't buy the stuff, couldn't buy the drinks, do all of that. It ain't even about that. So y'all can stop wasting your time thinking you're going to show up with some stuff and really land with a woman that is in a space that has healed and know who the hell she is and who she wants. Go find yourself first, men. Go cry a little bit. It don't have to be out in the open. You don't have to share your story like I share my story. I'm okay with myself. I'm in touch with myself. I'm man enough for myself. And I know how to show up for myself. So I definitely want to say I love you, men. I support you, men out there, especially my black men that are trying to figure it out and don't know where to start. Start with yourself. And just people in general, human beings. I'm talking to you, human beings. Start with yourself first. Make yourself a better version of yourself first. So when you start really truly loving yourself and you start showing up for yourself, you can then truly show up for who's supposed to be in your life. Until then, see you next time. Do the work. Thanks for tuning in. I love you all. God bless. I'll see you next time. Salute.